Is it possible for one man's voice to create an army of clones? The answer is yes, and we have the audio recording to prove it. This is the prayer at the bottom of the well. In 2007, Canadian field recorder named Ben Putt was hiking in the remote jungle markets of Borneo when he heard a man reciting a prayer. He set up his recording equipment and captured what you were about to hear. And what you're about to hear will change your life forever. There are some sounds that should never be heard, some sounds that can shatter the human psyche and send even the strongest minds over the edge. This is not one of those sounds. Once you hear this sound, you will understand why they don't want you to know about it. This is the prayer at the bottom of the well. Take a listen. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. Okay, so we've established that one man's voice can create an army of clones. But there is more to this story. You see, after the initial recording, Ben put the recording equipment back in its bag and started to walk away. That's when he heard it again. The prayer. But this time, it was coming from all around him. Dozens of voices, maybe even hundreds of voices, whispering the prayer at the same time. He turned around and looked in every direction, but there was nothing there. So he pulled out his recording equipment and captured this. Here it is again. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. Oh, my Lord God, if I am destined to be alone, then let me be alone. If I am destined to be with others, then let me find them. At first he thought that perhaps he had stumbled upon some kind of secret cult. Maybe there were people hidden in the trees around him, just out of sight, repeating the prayer in unison. But that didn't make any sense, because the voices were coming from all directions. There was no way that someone could be standing directly behind him without him hearing them. It wasn't like he was deaf. As he stood there listening, he realized that the only explanation for what he was hearing was that the voices were coming from inside his own head. But that was impossible. Voices can't come from inside your own head unless you're talking to yourself, and he wasn't doing that. So what was he hearing? Was it a hallucination? Some kind of sonic mirage? Or was it something else entirely? Something a little more sinister? Some believe that what Ben heard was the prayer of the ancients. They believe that this prayer has been passed down from generation to generation, and that it holds some kind of ancient power. They say that anyone who hears the prayer will be forever changed by it. But others say that the prayer isn't the real prayer at all. Instead, they believe that it's a trap, a way of luring the unsuspecting into a false sense of security. They say that anyone who answers the prayer will be doomed to wander the earth alone for the rest of their days. So what do you think? Is the prayer a trap, or is it a blessing? Let us know in the comments below. We hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a very special story for you. A story about a man who walked into an interrogation room and never came out. It's a story that has many twists and turns, and it will keep you guessing until the very end. So make sure to watch until then. It all started when the police brought in a suspect for questioning, who's the prime suspect in a series of robberies. And the police were confident that he was the one who had been eluding them. They had been searching for him for weeks, and they finally had him in their sights. As the police led the suspect into the interrogation room, they knew that this was the moment they had been waiting for. They could finally get the answers they needed and put an end to the robberies that had been plaguing the city. But what they didn't know was that this was just the beginning of a very strange and mysterious story. The interrogation room was small and dimly lit. The only light in the room came from a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were lined with clocks, each one showing a different time, and the ticking of the clocks filled the room with a sense of unease. As the suspect sat down in the chair opposite the police, he seemed calm and collected. He answered their questions slowly and deliberately, never breaking eye contact. The police were trying to get the suspect to confess to the robberies, but he was being tight-lipped. Then something strange happened. The lights flickered and went out. The room was plunged into darkness, and the only sound that could be heard was the frantic beating of the suspect's heart. In the darkness, the suspect began to speak. He was whispering at first, but then his voice grew louder and more frantic. He was talking about things that made no sense, about shadows and figures that were moving around him. He was clearly terrified. As the minutes passed, his voice grew weaker and weaker until it was nothing more than a whisper. Then suddenly, the lights came back on, and the suspect was gone. The police were stunned. They had never experienced anything like this before. They searched the room thoroughly, but they couldn't find any sign of how the suspect had escaped. They checked the windows and the doors, but everything was locked from the inside. There was no way that he could have gotten out. Then they noticed something strange. The video camera that had been recording the interrogation was showing the same footage over and over again, like it was stuck on a loop. They tried to turn it off and on again, but it didn't work. The tape was stuck, and all they could see was the suspect sitting calmly in the chair, even though he should have been gone. As the police watched the video, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The suspect was supposed to be dangerous, but he didn't seem like it at all. And how had he escaped? Didn't make sense. Then, as they watched the video, they saw something that made their blood run cold. In one of the shots, they saw a faint smile on the suspect's face. He had been smiling at the camera the whole time. This was the break that the police needed. They had been looking for the suspect for weeks, and now they knew exactly where he was. He had been hiding in plain sight the whole time. With this new information, the police were able to track down the suspect and bring him to justice. The case was closed, and the city was safe once again. But the story doesn't end there. Some people believe that the suspect was actually innocent, and that he had been framed by the police. They say that the confession that loops is actually a message from the real criminal, someone who is still out there and watching. So the next time you're watching a video and you see someone smiling at the camera, be careful. You never know what they might be hiding. Well, this happened again last night. The tape, it was another slow night in the morgue. Just as I was getting ready to go home, I heard it. First it was a low moan, then heavy pounding. It was coming from the freezer where all of the deceased are kept. When I first started working here, this was a daily occurrence. Every night the same thing would happen. Moaning and thumping would come from the freezer, and when we opened the door, there was nothing there. We'd check the temperature, make sure everything was okay, and it always was. We never saw anything or anyone. But that didn't stop it from happening every single night. At first we thought maybe it was mice. Maybe some of the bodies were infested with mice. Again, we checked and we found no mice. No mouse droppings either. We even set traps just in case. We never caught anything. One of the guys suggested maybe we should put some cameras in there. Maybe we'd see what's going on. Another guy said that's ridiculous. Who's going to pay for that? Cameras cost money. Management doesn't want to spend money. So the cameras never got installed and the thumping continued. One night the sound was so loud, one of the guys, Tony, he couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed a meat cleaver off the wall and walked into the freezer. "What the hell is in there?" he yelled. He started banging on the freezer door. When it didn't stop, he ripped the handle off the door and flung it open. Nothing. There was nothing in there. Tony slammed the door, put the handle back on, and walked out. He never said a word to anyone about what he saw or didn't see in there. Now, I do know if Tony told someone about what he did or management found out somehow, because not long after that, the cameras were installed. Didn't stop the thumping, though. It's like clockwork. Every night around midnight it starts. Some nights it's worse than others. Some nights it goes on for hours. Sometimes it sounds like someone is screaming in pain. Other times, it sounds like someone is having sex. I wish I was making this up. Swear the other night I heard chains dragging metal moans. Whatever it is, it's in there. I'm telling you, it's in there. Now, last night was bad. Pounding was relentless. I was on my way to the bathroom when I heard it. Stopped and listened. I could hear whatever was in there moving around. Then it stopped. When I came back from the bathroom, the freezer drawer was open. I swear it was closed when I left. When I went over to close it, I noticed the temperature was off. It had been tampered with. Then I heard it again. Whatever was in there was moving around. Now it sounded angry. It sounded like heavy footsteps. I tried to ignore it, but the footsteps got louder. I turned around, and whatever was in there was coming for me. I don't know how to explain this. It was like a magnet. It pulled me toward the freezer. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. I don't know if someone was in there, if something was in there, but I felt this overwhelming urge to get closer. As I got closer, the pounding started again. It was right in front of me. I could feel the cold air coming out of the freezer. I could hear whatever was in there moving around. Then the lights flickered, and the room went black. I don't remember anything after that. I must have passed out because the next thing I remember is waking up on the floor. The clock on the wall said 4 a.m. My boss was standing over me. "You okay? What happened?" I don't remember what I said. Just remember getting up, dusting myself off, and going home. Now, this morning at work, I told my boss what happened. All he did was write me up for leaving early. Said I abandoned my post. How am I supposed to sit there and do paperwork when there is some crazy shit going on in a freezer? But apparently I'm the crazy one. Whatever's in that freezer, it's not moving when people are around. That's why the cameras never caught anything. Whatever it is, it only moves when there's no one around. Management says it's probably just the building settling, but I don't buy it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day. Today we look at a creepy audio recording that was picked up by a field recorder. The field recorder was set up to pick up the sounds of nature, when all of a sudden, a man began to recite a prayer. That wasn't too strange. However, what happened next was completely bizarre. Dozens of voices began to repeat the prayer in unison with the man. Let's take a listen. In the distance, the sound of a gurgling stream could be heard, along with birds tweeting and what sounded like the buzzing of a lone mosquito. Silence hung heavy in the air for several seconds, before the sound of a man's voice broke through. He was reciting a prayer, and it sounded like he was speaking in a Native American language. I don't know much about Native American languages, so I can't tell you exactly what he was saying, but I did find a transcript online. I'll put it up here if you want to take a look. But basically, he was asking for protection from evil spirits that may harm him in his sleep. He also asked for the spirits to be cast out into the river. As the man came to the end of his prayer, dozens of voices seemed to erupt out of nowhere. They repeated the man's words in perfect unison, and they sounded like they were right there in the forest with the man. It sounded like a group of about 50 people, maybe even more, all standing around the man while he spoke. The voices belonged to men, women, and children, and they all seemed to speak with the same accent. Whoever they were, they waited until the man was finished before beginning to speak. And when they did, their voices blended together into a single harmonious whole. What was really strange was that these voices didn't belong to any people that the man had been talking to just moments before. He had been alone in the forest, and it didn't sound like anyone had been around to witness his prayer. Yet when he finished, everyone began speaking in unison. It almost sounded like the voices were coming from the trees themselves. When the prayer ended, the man let out a big sigh and then began to speak again. His voice was calm and collected. He thanked the spirits for hearing his prayer and asked them to watch over him and his family. Then he said that he would return to finish his work. The man's voice continued to echo through the forest long after the voices had fallen silent. This recording is completely legitimate, and there are several long takes available on YouTube. There has never been any suggestion that the audio has been doctored, or that any of the voices belong to the same person. This leads me to believe that this really is a genuine supernatural event. There are many stories about Native Americans speaking to spirits in nature, and it sounds like this is exactly what happened here. Maybe the man was trying to protect himself and his family from some kind of malevolent entity that lurked in the forest. Or perhaps he was simply thanking the spirits for all that they had given him. Either way, it seems like his prayer was answered, and the spirits were happy to oblige. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you ever find an old cassette tape or record in an antique shop or maybe in your parents' attic, don't play it. The sounds on that old audio recording could be trying to get out to you right now. In the early 1970s, a man named Ben Morgan was working as a night watchman at a hospital. One night he recorded all of the usual hospital noises, the hum of machinery, the murmur of voices, until suddenly he heard a little girl's voice that sounded like it was from another time. It was then that he realized that he had just recorded a ghost. But there was one thing that didn't quite add up. The voice sounded modern, but the recording was from 1974. Join me as we look into this abandoned hospital PA system and try to find out what happened to that little girl who cried out for help. It all started in September of 1973 when the PA system at the Pennsylvania hospital began acting up. At first, it was just crackling and popping, which is understandable considering that it was an old system that was nearing the end of its life. But then, strange things started to happen. One night, a night watchman was working the night shift when he heard a very strange noise coming through the speakers. He couldn't believe his ears. Was that really a child's voice? He pressed record on his cassette tape and waited. First, there were the usual sounds of the hospital, the beep of a heart monitor, the murmur of voices. And then the sound of a little girl crying and screaming for help. "Help me, help me," she cried. The voice was loud and clear, and it sounded like it was from another time. It wasn't distorted like you would expect a 50-year-old recording to sound. He listened back to the recording, and it was clear that the voice was coming from a little girl. She was asking for help and saying that someone was hurting her. But where was she? Hadn't she been in the hospital at some point? And if so, why was she never found? As the investigation went on, they found more recordings with the same little girl's voice. They even found a couple with what sounded like a man's voice responding to her. But it wasn't anything good. The man's voice was angry, and it was clear that he wasn't there to help her. The hospital staff were baffled. How could this be? More importantly, where was the little girl? It seemed impossible that a child could go missing in such a large building without anyone noticing. But it had been a big hospital, and it was easy to overlook things, especially when there were so many other patients who also needed help. As time went on, the recordings were forgotten about, until one day when someone found them again. The hospital had long since been abandoned. But the mystery of the little girl still remained. People wondered if she was still there, trapped in the hospital and crying out for help. Others wondered if she had ever been real. Maybe she was just a figment of the night watchman's imagination. But there was one thing that everyone agreed on. That little girl's voice sounded modern. It didn't sound like it was from 1974. So what happened to her? To this day, nobody knows. Some say that the girl is still trapped in the hospital, waiting for someone to hear her cries and come to her rescue. Others say that she's gone, but her voice lives on in the recordings. The abandoned hospital still stands, and it's said that if you listen closely, you can hear the voice of the little girl crying out for help. What do you think? Do you believe in ghosts? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear more stories like this one, stay tuned. If you're one of those people that still uses a payphone from time to time, you probably have this irrational fear that somebody's listening in on your conversation, or worse. It's actually a phone booth in Kansas that has a very eerie message it seems to be trying to tell us. It all started back in 2017, when Reddit user KC Curio posted about an old payphone that was located at a convenience store where he used to work. The phone still had a working party line, meaning multiple people shared the number and could potentially call it at any time. And it just so happened that one night he picked up the receiver and heard a faint whisper, followed by what sounded like a loud, wet snap. "I used to work at a convenience store in the 90s, he began. And we had a phone booth in the store where customers could make calls if they wanted to. There were 3 numbers on the party line, and I can't remember the other 2. But one of them was for the store manager to use when she wasn't in the office. So I was working the night shift and it was dead, dead, dead. You know, those nights where nothing goes right? You had just gotten done cleaning the bathrooms, and I swear it was 5 minutes of me heaving into the toilet. I was not feeling well, and there's a knock on the door. Okay, whatever, right? I go to answer it, and it's the manager asking if she can use the phone. I told her it was free and clear, and she thanks me and gets off. But the story doesn't end there, because shortly after she hung up, he picked up the receiver to test the line, and that's when he heard a faint whisper. She hung up, and I picked up the receiver to make sure the line was clear. All I heard was a very faint whisper saying, "Don't look up." That was it. It was literally a whisper, and then the line went dead. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I figured she must have been on the phone with someone and talking about something weird. I put the receiver down and went back to stocking the chips. About 30 seconds later, the phone rings. I pick it up and all I hear is what sounded like a loud, wet snap, like a photo of film being developed or something like that. Then the line went dead again. I waited a full minute before hanging up and calling the manager's number back. No answer. I tried a few times over the next hour and no answer. I told my coworker about it, and he said it probably was just some kids messing around, and that it probably wasn't even on the same line. But I knew it was. So is it possible that this payphone is haunted? If so, what exactly is it trying to tell us? Some commenters on the thread believed the voice was trying to warn whoever was about to use the phone not to look up. Perhaps because they believed the phone was bugged or something was watching them through it. Others thought it might have been a threat of some kind. Some even suggested it could have been a message from the spirit of a former customer who met their demise in that very booth. There are plenty of urban legends surrounding payphones, especially those that have been left in seemingly remote locations. In most cases, these stories tend to be harmless. Like the myth that if you turn the rotary dial to the number 555, you'll be connected to Satan himself, or if you call your own number from a public phone. The person you're connected to will be the one who tries to steal your soul. In more recent years, however, payphones have become less common. According to a 2021 report by the National Association of Telecommunications Officers and Advisors, only 26 states still had coin-operated phones, and many of those were out of order. But if you do happen to come across one in your travels, just remember if it says, "Don't look up," maybe don't look up. Now, have you ever experienced anything strange while using a payphone? Let us know in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe for more creepy phone calls. Today's video is going to be one that you guys are definitely going to enjoy. It's titled The Party Recording. Home video, probably from some kind of birthday party. You can see all these people having a good time. There's a bunch of kids in the background. I guess there was some kind of piñata or something. Like that because they all hyped up and they gone, nah, go smash this cake. It looks like the birthday boy or birthday girl is right over here. I don't know their name. We'll just call him John for the sake of this video. So he's blowing out his candles. Everybody sing happy birthday. He makes a wish and now everybody's going to start eating the cake. But check out what happens here. I don't know if you noticed. Everyone stopped laughing. Everyone stopped talking. And they all turned towards the camera in dead silence. This is so creepy. What the hell is going on here? Why did they all turn towards the camera? Are they seeing something on the camera that we're not seeing? Is there a spider crawling across the lens? Is there a bug that flew into the room or something like that? Did somebody turn off the lights? Or is it just a really dark room? There's a lot of questions that come to mind. If you look right here, you can see the guy with the red hat. He's looking right at the camera and he's got a pretty astonished look on his face. Like he's kind of scared. Almost like he's seen a ghost. And then the girl right next to him is also staring directly at the camera.
Wow.
Now she's not as scared, but she does have a pretty surprised look on her face. Then you got this guy behind her who's taking a big bite out of his slice of cake. He's just staring off into space like he doesn't know where everybody else is going. Oh, now the little girl starts looking around. She's like, where did everybody go? She looks up at the camera. She's like, why is nobody talking? She's like, are we being watched? And then she starts freaking out. She drops her slice of cake on the table and then she runs off. You know, it's funny because this whole thing was probably just a setup. Like I said, it looks like a birthday party. The adults probably had a conversation off camera saying, hey, let's mess with the kids, right? They probably brought the camera over and set it up beforehand, recorded all this footage, and then when the kid came over, they were like, hey, can you say happy birthday to the camera? And they all started acting natural. Like I said, it's probably a setup. These people aren't actually scared or anything like that. They're probably laughing hysterically off camera right now. As the camera pans away, you can see more kids sitting at the table covered in cake. I wonder what the rest of the party was like after this. I wonder if they told the birthday boy what happened. I wonder if they even filmed the rest of the party. Well, if you guys enjoyed this video, and you want to see another one just like it, then stay tuned. Give me a thumbs up, share this video, leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I found this in a thrift store for 25 cents. It's a cassette tape titled The Babysitter's Lullaby. The cover has this creepy woman holding what looks like a bloody meat cleaver. And if we flip this over, there's the same image on the back with what appears to be a very disturbing message written in lipstick on the inside. Before we listen to this, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button down below and subscribe. so you don't miss out on future videos. Also, feel free to follow me on social media. I post there every day. I don't post here. So if you want to see a new video from me every single day, follow me there. Now let's listen to this very scary cassette tape. Okay, this is definitely a lullaby. I can hear a woman singing softly to what sounds like a young child. I don't know the words to this song, but it almost sounds like she's singing about how she's going to protect her baby. Whatever happens, she'll always keep him safe. And then all of a sudden, the lights flicker and the music changes. Now the woman is singing about how no one can hurt him, not while she's here. And I hear what sounds like a man's voice in the background saying, "You can't hide, you can't run, you can't fight, you're mine now." And then the woman continues singing as if nothing happened. In the distance, I can hear what sounds like a siren, but it's very far away. And then the woman starts to get more and more frantic as she sings about how no one can hurt her baby because mommy's here. And then the music changes again. This time it's faster and more intense. The woman is still singing the same lullaby, but now she's getting really, really scared. And I can hear the man's voice again saying, "Give me the baby," as the music gets louder and the woman screams, "No." And then finally, as the music reaches its peak, the woman screams, "He's not here anymore," as what sounds like a police siren gets closer and closer. And then the tape ends right as the siren reaches its peak. Wow, what does this all mean? Well, here's my take on it. But I think this woman was a babysitter and this tape was playing in the house that I got this from. Maybe the woman was watching the child and then a killer broke into the house and took the child. Or maybe the woman was the killer and she was singing to the child she was going to kill. That would explain why she was getting more and more frantic as the song went on. And then at the end, when she says, "He's not here anymore," I think she's referring to the child. And the police sirens in the background were added later, maybe by whoever was watching this, or they could just be part of the song. But I think they're supposed to represent the killer coming closer and closer. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Before I put this tape back in the plastic, I want to take a closer look at the cover. As you can see, the woman is holding what looks like a bloody meat cleaver. And if we zoom in on the meat cleaver here, it almost looks like there's writing on it. So I carefully took off the cover and placed it on top of the cassette so I could get a better look. And using my phone as a light, I could make out what looked like a series of coordinates written on the meat cleaver. So I took some paper and a pen and I wrote them down. They are 41 degrees north, 86 degrees west. And if we zoom out, we can see that written in the corner. So if we take the woman out of the equation, these coordinates are in London, Ontario. So what's at these coordinates? Well, using Google Maps, I found that it's an apartment complex. But if we go back a few years, we can see that it was a daycare. So could this daycare have something to do with this creepy cassette tape? Who knows? If you ask me, it's all just a big coincidence. But if you want to investigate for yourself, the coordinates are 41 degrees north, 86 degrees west. Well, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully this didn't give you too many nightmares. If it did, I suggest you watch one of my other videos, like the one where I explored a supposedly haunted hospital. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on future videos. Follow me on social media where I post every day. I don't post here, so if you want to see a new video from me every single day, follow me there. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. You ever listen to an old AM radio? The kind with the big dial? The one that your grandpa used to listen to baseball games on? When you turn it on, before you get any stations, there's always that moment when all you hear is static. Well, this one time when I was messing around with an old radio, I swear I heard something in the static. I couldn't believe my ears. So I turned the radio up real loud so I could hear it better. Then I started to understand what it was saying. It was Morse code. The dots and dashes were being spelled out by the crackle of the static. And after about a minute, the message was done transmitting. It said, "Meet me at 47 degrees north, 121 degrees west." And then the transmission stopped. There was just the static again. But that didn't stop me from getting in my car and driving to the exact coordinates given on the radio. I found myself outside a small town in the middle of nowhere. Literally in the middle of nowhere. The farmland stretched out in every direction as far as I could see. There wasn't a soul around. The nearest house was probably a quarter-mile away and it looked abandoned. And there was no way anyone had gotten this specific message from the radio and beat me here. No one else was around. So I got out of my car and walked around in the tall grass to where the message said IDB, but I didn't find anything. There was no grave, no headstone, no sign of anything. The wind was blowing through the tall grass, making it sound like the static from the radio. I walked back to my car defeated, thinking maybe I misheard the coordinates, or maybe someone was playing a prank on me. But then I looked down and noticed something. The ground where I was standing was disturbed. It looked like someone had been digging in the dirt with a shovel. I don't know why, but that gave me the idea to keep digging. So I rolled up my sleeves and started to dig in the dirt with my hands. And within a few minutes, I found something hard. I brushed some of the dirt off and realized it was a shovel. Whoever was buried here didn't have a proper burial. They just tossed their shovel into the ground and walked away. Maybe they were in a hurry. But what about the grave? Where was it? I kept digging in the dirt. I wanted to find the person or animal bones or something, anything to prove that there was someone buried here, but I didn't find anything. All I found was the shovel and a bunch of worms. After a while, I decided to try a different part of the field just in case I was in the wrong spot. So I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and walked away from the first spot. And when I opened my eyes, I saw a tree in the distance, so I walked towards it. When I got closer, I realized it was just a big rock monolith. It was probably there the whole time. But I just never noticed it because it blended in so well with the rest of the rocks in the field. But there was something strange about it. There was a faint outline around it, like something was carved into the rock. So I walked around the rock monolith until I found the spot that lined up perfectly in the middle. And it was then I noticed it. There was a small indentation in the rock monolith, like someone or something had been pushed into it. And in the middle of that was a small hole. I put my finger in the hole and felt around, and it was clear there was something inside blocking it from going in further. I reached in and grabbed onto whatever it was and pulled it out. It was a key. On the back of the key was a small piece of paper with writing on it, and when I unfolded it, it had more Morse code on it. This time, it said, "Beneath the cross lies the one who found the key." Beneath the cross. What cross? I looked around and saw a small wooden cross sticking out of the ground nearby. I walked over to it and looked around and saw nothing. Then I noticed the base of the cross was slightly raised. And when I looked under it, I saw a loose stone. So I picked it up and moved it. Underneath was a small metal box. And when I opened it, I saw a folded up piece of paper inside. I unfolded it and read what was written on it. "I'm sorry for leaving you this way. I didn't want to die, but I had no other choice. If you're finding this, then please take my body and give it a proper burial. Rest in peace." Whoever this person was, they didn't deserve to be buried in a shallow grave in the middle of a farmer's field. At least they didn't deserve to be left there without anyone knowing what happened to them. Maybe whoever wrote this note hoped that one day someone would find their grave and bring them home. Well, whoever you are, I hope you finally get some peace now. Oh, this is just a quick one. I was cleaning out my office today, and I found this old answering machine tape from a previous school, and it brought back some terrifying memories. So I'd like to share it with you. This is an old answering machine tape. The date on it is March 1998, and for the record, that was the last time the school had an actual answering machine, because we got rid of them when we went to voicemail. And I think this tape has never been listened to since it was made. And I don't know why, but I have a horrible feeling this is gone. Be the last time anyone ever listens to this tape. But listen to this. "Hello, this is Miss Anonymous. If you're a student, please say your name, and I'll check you off the list. If you're a parent, please leave a message, and I will return your call as soon as possible. Bye." Okay, so this is very strange, because if you listen really closely to the answering machine, you can hear the voices of kids saying their names in the background. But what's even weirder is that they aren't saying their names in alphabetical order. They're not saying their names at all. Doesn't make any sense. Is that supposed to be there? Did I miss something? Is there some kind of weird initiation or something that I am not aware of? Anyway, this tape goes on for quite a while with the kids saying their names, and then it gets really strange. Because after about 2 minutes, suddenly you can hear the voice of another teacher. "Hello, yes, this is Miss Anonymous, and can I speak to Miss Anonymous? She's on the phone right now." "Oh, okay, yes, yeah, let me tell you. No, you're fine. He's fine." Well, he's fine. Okay, well, tell him not to come in here, please. Thank you, bye." "Miss Anonymous, what are you doing? Why are you telling me not to come into the room? Is there something in here? What is going on, and why is it that you don't want me to come in here? Hello, Miss Anonymous. Are you in there? Miss Anonymous, what's going on? Are you in there, Miss Anonymous? And then you can hear some shuffling around and some whispering. You okay?
Aye.
Come on, yeah. Hurry up. Let's go. Don't listen to anything she says.
Aye, let's go.
Yeah. And then the tape ends. So I thought I should share that with you because that is just crazy. What could possibly be going on there? Why would a teacher not want another teacher to come into the room? And why are the kids whispering and then running away? What was in the room? Was it a secret? Was it dangerous? What was it? I've thought about this for a long time, and I have no idea what it could possibly be. And since it's such a small school, it's easy to find out things like this. And everyone I asked about it just looked at me like I had 10 eyes. They were like, "What are you talking about?" And they had no idea what I was talking about. So whatever it was, they didn't know about it, or they don't remember. So I don't know. Maybe it's one of those urban legends like the man in the hallway. Maybe there was some kind of danger in the hallway and they were trying to warn the other teacher. That's probably what it is, but who knows?
Thanks for watching.